world's one of the leading infotainment manufacturer, Harman, which is a $6.2 billion company and gets little over 50% of revenue from infotainment system. Here we have Mr. Lakshmi Narayan to talk about their plans in India and how the journey has been in the last 2 years of operation. Welcome to ETAuto, sir.
Thank you.
You have been here for around 2 years now. You have invested $20 million. We have seen that Indian automobile landscape is changing and growing very fast in terms of number, in terms of features. We see infotainment is becoming one of the main features that the OEMs are trying to, focus on, and also a selling point for them. In this situation, it's a win-win situation for companies like you. How do you see it?
Well, to be very clear, we started off in 2009. So we've been there for the past five and a half years. So the initial time was just the setting up of the company, and we are in different verticals. We've got professional, that means for cinemas, for things like that, and install sounds. Then we've got the lifestyle, which is the home theaters and the home and multimedia, etc. And then, of course, we had the infotainment, which is now called as the connected car because the technology itself is changing. Our foray into this field has been to see what is the relevant technology at the relevant price points and how do we get there. So we did approach quite a few of our customers, and we've been having an ongoing dialogue with most of the auto companies. See, what happens now is that the scene in the Indian auto industry is also changing. From sheerly having a car audio, which is basically a radio, to the fact that we want to make it into a more interactive element in the car, is forcing a lot of us to think what will be the kind of a technology we should have and when we should have it. See, the exposure to the auto manufacturer of the world is very, very normal now. In the good old days, probably it was very less. Today, everybody is open to everything. And of course, with the ingress of the whole lot of multinationals, the challenge for the local people to develop these products of contemporary technology is also becoming more important. Our first startup of this whole program of having to go in with connected car or the infotainment service started with our discussion with Tatas. At that time, Tata was just trying to develop or planning to develop the new generation of cars, which is now called the Zest and the Bolt, and a whole lot of generations that are to follow. There was an in-depth discussion between the set of engineers from the research center there and our research and development people, very clearly looking at what is the relevant technology to India, what is, by the relevant technology, let's be clear, it is something which is contemporary. It is not that it is a downsized version of a technology. It is the relevant technology which is contemporary. One of the challenge obviously is that Indian car manufacturers will find out what is the function to cost ratio, and also the fact that what will be the kind of an USP it will add to the product for it to sell. So it is an interesting challenge for us to find out that we, as one of the larger manufacturers of connected car, the infotainment systems, would bring on the table a kind of a contemporary, excellent technology, of course our own worldwide quality, and our ability to match what the aspiration levels of the new car that are being put into the market.
Globally, you have a very good market share, almost above 20-25%. In India, you have started off. Now, when do you see that you will be able to achieve that kind of market share, and which segment would be your major driver?
You see, at the moment, if you really look at Indian market share as well, of the addressable market, see, we are not in the car radio. We are only though there is an intelligent version of the car radio, which means interactive processor there. We would say that we are almost in the region of about 30 to 35%, right? Because not many are fitted with this. But now, as you can clearly see, and that number of cars which are going to be fitted with more intelligent systems are going to increase. We are in discussion with most of the auto manufacturers. And naturally, they are also looking at various the pros and cons and the marketability of the same. It's too premature for me to say as to what will be the market share, but suffice it to say that our aspiration levels are high.
You're saying 30% market share you have right now, but your current customer lineup, if we see, is Fiat, Volkswagen, and
Volkswagen not so much in India at the moment.
Fiat,
Tata,
which is also small. Tata is small. So how do you say 30%? Because the larger chunk comes from Maruti, Suzuki, Hyundai.
But they don't have at the moment systems which are comparable.
We are talking about high-end.
High-end, because what we have introduced in the Bolt and Zest are those which are which can communicate with the smartphone and which can have a higher addressability. If you ask me what will happen next year, it can be much different, because I'm sure everybody will catch up with their own technologies.
What can you please tell us? Give us an idea, sense what percentage of the total car being sold in India has currently infotainment system, and how do you see it growing in the coming years? What kind of?
I don't have exact figures coming up, but I foresee that at least about 30 to 40% will be having factory fitted. I call it the take rates. I foresee it in the next 3 to 4 years' time, almost about 80 to 90%.
India is a very different market from where you have been operating, be it US or any other developed market. What are the challenges that you are facing in India when it comes to producing a product which is cost effective, at the same time it gives the features, because the consumers' demand is increasing day by day. They want more features at a lower cost. We see the car prices are not going that up as much as they are adding new features. You see recently a French car maker has launched a very low cost vehicle which has infotainment system. So what are the challenges that you people face?
See, very clearly our ability to bring down the bill of material sizes to fit the functionalities is the challenge, right? Fortunately, we have a very large library of work that has been done by us. How to scale it down without having to reduce the functionality, that is going to be the challenge. We are at it now. In fact, teams keep working all around the world on not this maybe today in India, but in the other areas which is going to now come up, it can be very similar requirements. As well in some portions of China, because not all that they produce in China is only those produced in India, China for the lower markets. So this challenge is going to be, how do we address engineering at the kind of the contemporary requirements as I put it, at the cost level that is expected. That is the challenge. That's why we need so many of our development engineers working with us.
So somehow is it that the quality is also compromised at some place, or you maintain the same quality?
Not at all.
How is it possible? Then why don't you? Then you can take the formula abroad as well for your other customers.
No, I think to put it very clearly, question of any compromise in the quality just does not arise, right? Whatever we are delivering anywhere else in the world, as far as the quality levels are concerned, measured by so many parts per million, that will remain, and that's being monitored at the highest levels in the company.
In terms of engineering, which you said that in India you have better cost engineering. So how are you going
I use the word best cost.
Okay, best cost engineering. Many call it frugal engineering and all.
Right.
So how are you going to use this for your global advantage? How much you have been able to use in terms of R&D?
No, we have almost about 70-75% of our people working on various projects for Harman worldwide. Like I just mentioned, Harman is a company that does not have people sitting in one country doing for that country. We have got teams all over the world which work on a handshake basis for developing products for the world. So our part of it is also, there is a project manager, and the project manager ensures that he distributes the work in such a way that we are able to get the best from all the countries in order to get the product within the specifications. And
so
also
you
the
have
cost.
operations at most part of the developed and developing world.
Yeah.
when it comes to rating Indian engineers in terms of product development, how do you rate among top 10?
You know what? I think we are considered, our engineering and our research and development is considered as an excellent one. We don't have something to say we are number one, somebody is number two, somebody is number three. We don't have a methodology of that. Our main methodology is to find out whether we will be able to rely upon this country's engineers for the kind of product that is being made elsewhere in the world as world class. And India stands up to that. And we are growing, otherwise we wouldn't have grown.
There's a lot of talk happening about connected cars. Your entire department is now called connected cars. So how it is going to change the landscape? What will be the scenario and what is going to be challenges, and how India is going to change Indian automobile market with that?
Indian automobile market will try to keep its pace along with what's happening worldwide. Of that there's no doubt. But the infrastructure that is needed, I mean by connected car is not surely car-to-car connectivity, it's a car-to-house connectivity, car to various things, like the Internet of Things. Now, how much is feasible within the infrastructure is a question mark. Discipline on the roads, the road infrastructure itself, ability to start marking certain points where you get a feedback. For example, lane marking. If you go on outside the lane, there is always a constriction. This is all a question of how time will tell us.
So you mean to say India is still not prepared for connected car?
No.
So
I would say
how long will it take? And what are the basic infrastructure that we at least needed to be addressed immediately?
I think first of all, I think we've got to bring the full definition of a connected car. Right? A connected car can be a lot more than just only a car-to-car connectivity.
No, it could be a house, it could be
everything,
your classroom, your
that.
office, your cabin, maybe your computer you cannot turn on with your car.
Exactly.
So these kind of infrastructure we are talking, there's a lot of talk happening globally as well. So how far are we from reaching that level? When we can see really happening in India or in full volume in developed countries also?
This is something which I can't even fathom to. I'm not able to really answer that, because it's a very complex set of inputs to say, okay, by 2020 we should be able to do it. But very doubtful.
At least in phased manner, what are the steps?
I think all of us will be taking, for example, the technology that's needed to have that will be available in the country. I think the question of infrastructure, and I would not like to make a guess on the infrastructure that's needed. It depends, first of all, you're going from a place A to place B. The kind of indiscipline that's on the road, the kind of structure itself on the road is different. Metro cities only we are talking now. You imagine that we are talking about the entire country. 70% is still rural sector.
Okay, a connected car, now we are talking about autonomous cars. How much do you see reality? People are saying by 2020 they will be able to bring in. Do you think it is viable? It can happen in any part of the world, leaving India apart?
Else in the world, I think there's a lot of work going on. Some people are
OEMs say they are already ready.
So, I'm afraid I've not done too much of work personally elsewhere in the world to answer that question. India is a little far away from that.
Because connected car will come into play in such cars.
Absolutely.
Also very effectively.
Very effectively.
Because electronics and sensors and radar, these are the elements that is going to be very important in that also.
Absolutely. Actually, if you have a look at the way it is all going to go, it requires a lot. You see, I feel that in our country, we will be able to have the necessary engineers to do the job. To really, I'm very confident about that. The question is, when you're talking, when will you introduce it in this place as a reality? It's a big question.
What are the mega trends you see globally in the infotainment system coming up?
Oh, I would skip that.
Okay.
I don't have full knowledge.
So what kind of changes you see in infotainment system? What are the new additions that we can expect? You were just mentioning that how, we can transfer a map from mobile to the car. and thus, map providers may have to innovate themselves and find a new business scenario.
See,
What are the other scenario you can cite?
No, one thing is very clear, which is not too far away, is car-to-car connectivity. And of course, like I said, car to the Internet of Things, connected to various places where you have to, sitting in the car, do the job. There's always a three space. One space was the house, the one space was the office, one place was the car. Now they were independent, now the whole thing is getting connected. And you're sitting here, you're then the office. It's actually the four dimensions are getting together. So it is a big challenge for all of us to find out how do we do all this, and in ensuring that the cyber security is safe. So otherwise, any kind of hacking would put us back in safety.
How big is India for Harman if we see global markets?
Not really very big. We're just growing. And like I
And
said,
China? How much does
China
contributes to your global
China
economy?
is very big. See, I don't have the figures of the entire thing of the global economy because the reporting is all done individually as a business unit wise. But China is growing very big compared
How
to
do you
us.
see Harman's contribution, Harman India's contribution to your global business?
See, I think we would definitely in the next 5 years step it up by almost in the region of, I would take a bet that it will be significant. How much is something which Harman worldwide has to decide, because we don't have future projections coming up to be talked about. Having said that, our endeavor is to look at all the four spaces, the professional, the home and multimedia and the lifestyle, connected car and connected services, to take it to a level where India would definitely be a force to reckon with.
Will India be able to feature in your top 10 markets in the coming few years?
Coming few years, no, because I think few years must have already started now. I would say if you look at the space between 2020 and 2025, from what we have all been hearing as to what everybody is talking about, we should definitely be a force to reckon with.
Will you be one of the top 5?
Why not?
Well, thank you so much. It's a pleasure talking to you. All the very best.
Thanks a lot.